What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show is on your radio dials right now, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. Download the app. Take it on the go. Also, got your smart devices, smart speakers, video streams also up and rolling on YouTube and Facebook here this morning. But happy Thursday before Labor Day weekends. Appreciate you making us part of your start here. What do we got on a good old game plan for us this morning? We're going to talk some Brewers as the Brew Crew, picking up a win last night. Good thing they put up 5 runs in the bottom of the 5th because that's all they would score throughout the game, and that's all they would need. Even though the Giants making it a little bit interesting there towards the end, putting up a run in the 7th and a couple in the 8th there. But nonetheless, Brewers picking up a win. A solid performance from Freddie Peralta. 6 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs given up by Freddie Peralta last night. Devin Williams also picking up the save. You had Contreras picking up a home run and such, a part of that 5th inning, 5-run 5th inning there. But Freddie Peralta in his last 17 innings, just 1 run, 9 hits allowed over his last 17 innings. So we've been talking about seeing maybe a little bit more consistency, a little bit higher level of pitching from Freddie Peralta. And, well, he's, as of late, last couple games, not bad. Not bad. Kind of maybe the Freddie Peralta that we know or wanted to see or expected, however you want to look at that. So, but nonetheless, Brewers pick up the win last night, and they will try to go for the series win later this afternoon. First pitch for that game is going to be at 1:10 with Aaron Savali on the mound for the Crew before the Brewers travel and head off to Cincinnati for a quick 3 games, and then they'll be back in Milwaukee for the next week, starting on Monday, a series against the Cardinals over there. So we'll talk some Brewers as we are now just 30 more games left to go. 30. That's it. 30 games of this regular season here for the Brewers. The final stretch run, if you will, as we get set to enter this final month of the regular season. So baseball talk coming up here. We'll talk a little Freddie Peralta and all that stuff. We'll also talk a little Green and Gold. Brian Gutekunst's talking yesterday to the media. Now that rosters were finalized and such, Packers do have a new kicker. So Greg Joseph not lasting on the roster that long, but they put a claim in on former Tennessee Titans kicker Braden Narvison. So Packers going with an unknown a little bit there. Matt LaFleur, even when he was talking to the media yesterday, saying, quote, "This is uncharted territory, I would say, that I've been in my time in the league. You just have to come in and perform." I don't know how else to put it, but it's definitely a unique situation. Talking about their kickers. And Matt LaFleur also did admit that with an untested kicker initially to open up the season, that could alter some of their in-game decisions. He said, quote, "Absolutely, 100%. I think you've got to take that into account. I think you have to take into account all the circumstances. No different, though, like when you go out and there's inclement weather, sometimes that affects some of the decision making you make. We'll see. At least we'll get a couple days with him to kind of get a feel for him as he performs. What's hard is just you don't have any game experience with him, but he did a nice job in Tennessee. I know that." Narvison made 79% of field goals tries in college. Went to 3 different schools, NC State most recently. Undrafted free agent, 2 preseason games with the Titans. He hit 6 of 7 field goals, including a 59-yarder and a game winner, plus both of his extra points. So hold on to your butts. But Goody also, I thought this was a really interesting comment from him, talking about special teams players and specialists like kickers and punters. Goody said that he's not patient with specialists, maybe needs to be more patient. Said there were people who thought Mason Crosby wasn't worth keeping after a few seasons, but patience by Ted Thompson paid off. He seemed to be saying they will be very patient with Narvison. That's according to Tom Silverstein yesterday. But that was definitely a quote that a lot of the beat writers yesterday kind of highlighted over there. So definitely interesting. I don't know if he's second guessing some of his decisions, but yeah, here's the full quote. Actually, this is from Ryan Wood. I'm probably not as patient with specialists as I should be. I'm really not. I give Ted a lot of credit. Certainly, he was a much more patient man than I was. I think Mason was under 80% until his fifth year. That's true because we just highlighted that the other day. And then that sixth year was my first year in the office in 2012, and I think it was 60-some% and missed like 12 kicks. I can tell you right now, there were people in the office who were like, let's move on. So I probably need to be more patient. I mean, we had J.K. Scott in here. He's turned into a very good punter. But at the same time, I'm very confident in this team and what we can accomplish. I want to make sure we give this team every opportunity to win. So there's going to be a standard we try to reach. So Packers also putting together their practice squad. Such Kalen King, for anybody wondering, is back on the practice squad. Sean Clifford is also back on the practice squad for the Pack. So we'll throw a little football talk in there as well. Plus kickoff tomorrow for the Badgers. Badgers taking on Western Michigan. So we'll throw some college football chat in there. We've got some college football games coming up tonight on the schedule. So if you're staying in, you got quite a few games actually to choose from. North Dakota State's going to be visiting Colorado. The Gophers are in action. North Carolina at Minnesota. So you got a couple ranked opponents. NC State's in action against Western Carolina. Howard's taking on Rutgers if you're looking at a little Big Ten action as well. So, but Kansas is in action. 22 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Illinois is also in action, taking on Eastern Illinois. And then 12th ranked Utah taking on Southern Utah. So quite a few games on the schedule for today. More so than what's on the schedule for tomorrow. But yeah, now things are really starting to kick into gear. So we'll talk a little college football with that. Also, I mean, we've got even some high school games in our areas. I know Rice Lake moving up their game time, trying to avoid some of the weather that apparently is coming tonight. But Rice Lake's going to be taking on Rapids. Menominee will be taking on Marshfield. McDonald Central beginning their season, taking on Clayton. Eau Claire North is going to be taking on New Richmond. Elk Mounds taking on St. Croix Central. A lot of other games. Those are just a few I know that are on the docket here. So also we've got outdoor tidbits with Jake Boakes coming up. So if you have any questions for our DNR warden friend, hit us up with a text. All right, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Got to text us those questions over there. So we'll get to that. We got a little Throwback Thursday coming up in under an hour. We'll do some receiver defer at about an hour and a half, around 7:40, 7:45 here this morning. So let's get things rolling. Let's get it humming, shall we? Let's talk some baseball to open up things here. But what else is on your mind? If you got a topic or a thought or a question, always send those puppies on over too. But we'll lead things off, talk a little Brewers. Brewers picking up a win last night. Freddie Peralta looking sharp. Freddie Peralta looking good in his last couple of games there, picking up his 9th win of the season. And when you look at Freddie Peralta's lines so far on the season, I mean, his ERA is down to a 3.70 overall, 9-7. If you want to break it down a little bit more, in August, he has been 3-1 with a 2.89 ERA. So is Freddie Peralta starting to hit that stride at the right time as now we enter these final 30 games of the regular season? Maybe, possibly. So we'll talk some Freddie Peralta coming up here. Give him a little love, give him some flowers and such and take a look at this afternoon's game with Aaron Savali on the mound. So let's get her going here. We'll take that first break, and then the leadoff. Leading it off, talking a little baseball. Coming up after these quick words. Coming up next Friday to kick off the Green Bay football season, we're going to be doing the program from Hy-Vee. Hopefully the weather's nice so we can set up outside, do a little tailgate show with the mobile man cave out there. But they got a lot of stuff planned for this event since it is in the morning, 6A to 9A. Got a couple of breakfast options out there. How about this? I'm going to go through a list. I'm reading it, what they got here. Breakfast sandwiches, breakfast quesadillas, breakfast nachos. All right. Got those $4 a piece, it looks like, on there. I mean, come on now. That's a heck of a deal. 30% off the sports shop over there. So if you need some swag to represent the green and gold for that night, or maybe some of your local high schools, they got Blue Goals, they got Badger stuff over there too. Man Cave lights, get the new Man Cave lights. $2 off Dan Good Burgers or any gourmet burgers, ribs or wings. Specials, got some appetizer specials. Packer 12-inch cookie for just $10 over there too. So Ellsworth cheese curds plus some giveaways. Packers appliances, sports shop gear, $50 gift card, all a bunch of stuff going on that morning over there at Hy-Vee. So stop on by, grab some breakfast, beep the horn, say a little go pack go. That it's going to be next Friday from 6A to 9A. We'll be doing the program over there. And again, hopefully it'll be outside so we can do a little tailgate feel and set up the mobile man cave out there. So, all right, we'll get to a little football talk coming up here. Let's get to a little green and gold chats a little bit later on, but let's lead off things this morning talking some Brewers, Milwaukee Brewers. Picking up the win last night, 5-3, thanks to 5 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning for the Brewers. That's all they needed, and it's a good thing they put up 5 in that 5th because that's all they would go on to score for the rest of the game, though, even though the Giants inching away, trying to claw back in it, putting up some runs late in the game, 7th and 8th inning there, but Devin Williams able to close it down and pick up his 6th save of the season. Freddie Peralta with a solid outing from Fastball Freddie last night, going 6 innings of work, not allowing a single run, a couple hits, struck out 8, did issue 3 walks in the game there, but nonetheless picking up his 9th win of the season. And when we look at Freddie Peralta's numbers and what he has done lately here, I mean, he's last couple innings here, last 17 innings, excuse me. 1 run, 9 hits allowed over his last 17 innings. And Freddie Peralta has been a guy that we have all kind of wondered, are we going to start to see some consistency from him? Are we going to start to see, maybe the Freddie that we expected to see or that we have seen before in the past? And maybe is he hitting his stride? Is he starting to hit his stride right now? And maybe at the perfect time here for the Brewers as we are approaching the final month of the regular season. Freddie Peralta, in the month of August, in 5 games, in his 5 games that he has started, he is 3-1 with a 2.89 ERA. His lone loss was against the Dodgers back on the 12th, where he went 6 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, and a couple home runs. And home run ball's kind of been an issue, right? But in his last 2 games now, in his last 11 innings, he has not given up a home run ball. His last 3, he's just given up 1 total home run. And that was 1 earned run in that outing against Cleveland. But 3-1 in his last 5 games, 2.89 ERA in the month of August. July, in his 5 games, 0-2 with a 4.10 ERA. June, he was 3-1 with a 4.26 ERA. May, 0-3 with a 4.08 ERA. So easily this will be his last. Yeah, this will be his last start in the month of August over there too. So a nice bounce back month, and maybe hitting his stride at that right time as we get into this final month of the season and as we get into the postseason coming up here for the Brewers. So Freddie Peralta after the game too last night having a little fun with the media, saying, I told you guys before, I knew at some point I was going to feel good and everything was going to work again. And numbers sure kind of look like it so far with Freddie Peralta. Are you finally ready to join us here this morning?
I got held up at the concession stand at the Badger game trying to get a beer.
Okay. Well, you sound like it too, man alive. Holy moly.
Talking about Freddie Peralta, he, he's lucky. Like he said, I told you it would finally come around. Well, this is the end of August. And he's had a lot of people. I mean, he hasn't pitched bad. I don't want, because like his last outing, he went 5 innings, didn't give up a run, they lost. But he hasn't been the dominant pitcher we hoped he would be. And, we're into September in a couple of days, and it's pretty late to be coming around. But hopefully, better late than never, as they always say.
Well, maybe he's coming around at the right time, though, too, to ride that momentum heading into the postseason here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Better late than never, because, I think the postseason it should be inevitable. I mean, this would be worse than the 69 Cubs if something happened to this lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although Cubs, got to give credit, they are playing better right now.
They had quite a game yesterday.
Yeah. What was didn't they have like 10 runs? Or they scored late and made the comeback.
Yeah,
was
they were down
yesterday?
10-3 or something. One, I don't know, 13-10 or something.
They're now actually over 500 by a couple games.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll bet Council is being hailed as a savior in Chicago.
Probably should get some Manager of the Year votes right now over there in the National League. So, but no, still a 9-game lead for the Brewers. Says they've got just 30 games left coming up in the regular season here. They'll try to go for the series win with the Giants this afternoon. Aaron Savali on the mound, and then they will be on the road for a few games against Cincinnati. Again, reminder, too, in case you do have an old schedule, it's going to be pretty much baseball all day for the Brewers. Got a doubleheader tomorrow, a little makeup game with the Reds. So first pit or coverage is going to begin around 11 a.m. on the radio dials tomorrow. It's got a split doubleheader over there. So not a bad Friday to lead into Memorial Day weekend, right? Or not Labor Day weekend when you got a couple Brewers games. Yeah, first game will begin at 11:05. Coverage will begin at 11:05. Second one about 5:05 p.m.
Yeah, it should be fun. What I'm nervous about is high school football tonight with this weather forecast. Maybe some storms between about 6 and 10 o'clock. So I know Elk Mound's got a game, so be careful out there.
I know Rice Lake, we mentioned a little bit earlier, Rice Lake moved up their game time with Wisconsin Rapids, so they're about 4:05 p.m. kickoff for their game.
Probably not a bad idea, but hopefully Mother Nature won't come at us like she did the other night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no kidding. So, and I know we got quite a few local games. We went through the list a little bit earlier. North's in action, and McDonald Central's kicking off their season tonight too. So best of luck to everybody in week 2 or week 1 for our 8-man football teams.
And I know you and Brandon really cover the high schools on Friday when I really enjoy listening to that. What's the status? I drive by Memorial High School and I see their new football facility. Looks like it's pretty close to being done. I don't know what is the status of North. Somebody told me they were a little further behind in getting their facility done. Have you heard an update on that?
I just know I think this is their final year playing at Carson Park for both Memorial and North over there. So, but
yeah, it will be, and that's a head scratcher why that's happening. But it is what it is. So again, going to a game tonight, be aware of the weather, and hopefully they'll take appropriate precautions.
I think it's cool though for the high schools to have their own field right next to the high school over there too.
I don't argue that a bit. I just wonder after all these years why.
Mm-hmm.
But
money. Maybe they got some money.
Well, if they've got schools that got money, I don't know where it came from because that's always been the for the last 20 years.
Anonymous donors.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. That would be a fun thing. That would be nice. No, the field looks beautiful. The stand, the only question I have, like Memorials, is when Chipwood comes to, and I know the schedules are different now, but with Chippewa and when you play North, Menominee comes to town, those are big crowds. I don't care how the teams are doing in the standings. Those are big crowds. And I don't know if that facility at Memorial is big enough to handle all of them. I hope it is, but we'll wait and see.
Yep, no doubt about it. So, but Yeah, you got day baseball today and then day baseball tomorrow and early evening. So
Nothing wrong
it
with
is
day
football
baseball.
season, but we still got 30 more games, at least 30 more games in this Brewer season to go. So, and a lot is still at stake, not just for the Brewers, but all across Major League Baseball.
What's the status of the Brewers in the National League as far as getting one of the top 2 seeds? Where are they?
They're well, let me bring up the accurate numbers coming up here right now, but they're still just a couple of back from the top seed overall. Yeah, 2.5 back from the top seed overall, 1.5 back from the 2 seed. Top 2 seeds get buys.
Philadelphia and LA right now.
LA and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
LA is the 1. Philadelphia is 1 back. Then you've got Milwaukee, who's 2.5 back.
So
right
they do
now,
have
too.
something to play for. That's
Oh
for sure.
yeah,
Because
big
you look
time.
at, I heard you talk about Arizona, and they're coming on strong. And that kid that was a rookie of the year hit a couple more home runs last night after being rookie of the year.
Corbin Carroll, yeah.
Corbin Carroll, and he pretty much destroyed the Brewers in the playoffs last year. So hopefully the Brewers can get into that 1 or 2 spot and not have to face one of those teams, because Houston's hot right now. Arizona's getting hot, and this is a time when you want to get hot.
San Diego's playing well too. I mean, they're putting the pressure on the Dodgers, and that's why the Dodgers have to continue to play really well because, I mean, this is where it is with the NL West. Brewers are 76 and 56. Diamondbacks and the Padres have the same amount of wins as the Brewers right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how tight the National League is right now. And then you got to give credit. Atlanta's playing really well. They just swept the Twins. Atlanta is 8-2 in their last 10 games. Maybe putting a little pressure on Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, this was a few days ago. I don't know if it's still accurate, but I heard it on the Brewers broadcast on the radio coming back from the Packer game. Since the All-Star break, Philadelphia had the worst record in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, so, they hadn't been playing well since the All-Star break, that's for sure. What's happening in that American League Central? Because Cleveland was riding high, and all of a sudden they went into the tank, and now the Twins aren't playing all that well. What's the status? Who's in first place there?
Cleveland is still in first place. It was tied yesterday because Cleveland, Kansas City had that series going on. But Cleveland now is back up by just 1 game over Kansas City. Minnesota's 3.5 back from the division. But you look at the wild cards, and Boston's just 3 back from a wild card. But I mean, Minnesota's still a wild card team. Kansas City's the second wild card team as of now. Baltimore is the other top wild card, but they're in that back and forth with the Yankees in the AL East there too. So, I mean, you've got kind of some races all across. I mean, you want to look at even the AL West with Houston. They're 71 and 62. Seattle's not out of it yet. They're 68 and 66, trying to inch their way up there too. So, I mean, you still have. Seattle's 3.5 back. You still got some intriguing division races here. National League, kind of the same thing. Brewers still are the team that has the widest margin between their division leads over there. But, we mentioned the Cubs. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they're 9 games back right now currently of the Brewers. But that's the biggest lead in any division race right now. Atlanta's 5 back from Philly. Arizona's 3 back from the Dodgers. Seattle 3.5 back. Kansas City's 1 back. Baltimore's just 1 back too. So,
yeah, it's going to be fun watching the race to the end.
And you look at, not to overlook any of these games coming up here, but I'll say it again, that September 10th through the 22nd for the Brewers, 3 games on the road against the Giants, who are still trying to inch into a wild card chase, 3 games against the Diamondbacks, then you're back at home for 3 games against Philly and 4 games against the Diamondbacks.
Tough schedule.
And right before the playoffs, too. I don't mind that.
No, but hopefully, the Cubs and the Cardinals also have some competition as well. You win one, lose one, and the Cardinals win one, lose one. The Cubs win one, lose one. You don't lose any ground. It's just that, you want some positive momentum, mojo going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You don't want to stumble into the playoffs.
No, I think if there's one thing we've seen how many times in baseball, momentum is a huge factor when it gets to the postseason.
Oh, it really is.
And that's where I'm looking at that. It's like, that's where I think you can really develop some momentum if you could take care of business against the Diamondbacks a couple times and Philadelphia. And I mean, that series against Philadelphia there might really kind of make a difference in the standings, because after that stretch, you just have 2 more series, Pittsburgh and the Mets, and then it's done.
Home or on the road? Again?
Philly's at home.
Okay.
Arizona, you have 4 home games and then 3 on the road. So 7 against Arizona that stretch, but 4 are at home. So magic number, by the way, for the Brewers to clinch is down to 20. Remember, that's a combination of wins and losses from their division teams and such too. So it's not 20 out of. It may sound like a lot, but when you factor in wins and losses, I mean, they're one day you can make up already a couple games.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's what I say: win one, lose one. If we lose and the Cardinals lose, we don't lose anything. So again, it's one of those things where 20 does sound like a lot, but the way the formula works, it's pretty workable.
Yeah, because I think it was just a couple weeks ago, the magic number, they were already starting to count down. It was like 40 or 39 and all that. So just take care of your own business. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Win your games. Win those games. So Jackson Cheerio, and we talked about it yesterday, the other day, when he hit that towering home run and took out a little bit of a piece of the brand new scoreboard over there.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so he had a 449 foot home run. So they got that big brand new scoreboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where he hit it, lights went out in that little section right there. So what did they do? They fixed it. Okay. But now when you go, there's a little 11 on there to commemorate where he hit
Good
it.
For them.
They put a little light there. It says that has his number on there. So it may look a little weird, but it's kind of cool, right?
It is.
To put that on the big jumbotron scoreboard there.
They should do that same thing out there in that, what is it, the Toyota truck? If somebody hits that truck, they ought to put their picture and number along the running board of the box of the pickup out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, so when you look at it, you're like, well, that doesn't match color-wise. They put 11 there.
Good for them. Good for them. Yeah, I think that kid's got just an unlimited amount of future opportunity ahead.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. I mean, you look at it again, his last 30 at-bats, he's hitting 333, on base percentage of a 375. He's slugging 567 right now. His last 30 games overall, that's 123 at-bats. He's hitting 317, slugging 545, 6 home runs, and on base of a 359 right now. And he's getting really close to having that 2020 season. He's at 16 home runs and 19 stolen bases so far. Overall in the season, 272 with an OPS of a 760 right now. And getting more comfortable in the outfield too, I think.
I was just going to say, I think he's feeling the outfield a little bit better and going after more balls than he did earlier. He kind of backed off some balls and he was criticized for, but I think he's growing into being a major leaguer.
Mm-hmm. And he's a lot of fun to watch too. I'm for as young as he is, with his age, we see a lot of those guys with that pressure. You could kind of maybe tell if it gets to him. I don't think there's a game that has gone by where I haven't seen Cheerio with a big smile on his face at some point.
Oh, he's enjoying it.
Like whether he's going up to the plate even before he's swinging, he's got this smile, or when he makes a catch and he's looking at his teammates. Dude just seems relaxed out there and enjoying the moment right now. And I think that's rare for a 20, 21-year-old with all that pressure. It could kind of get to you. I mean, this kid, he's living it up right now. And right now, the way you're playing and with the contract you got, there's not a whole lot to complain about at this point in time.
This kid's on top of the world right now, and he's making the world bigger the way he's playing. That's for sure. I think too, when Hayward was let go by Jason Hayward go by the Dodgers, I was really happy to see, and I never saw anybody say anything about the Brewers looking at Jason Hayward. I was glad to see that they didn't have any interest in him at all, because I think that would have sent the wrong message to this team. Like, we're not sure you guys can get her done. We are going to bring in help, and Hayward's done nothing. I mean, it's not like he was in demand because he hadn't really set the world on fire. That's why the Dodgers let him go. And I was glad to see the Brewers didn't show any interest in him, because I think this team needs that self-confidence that it has in itself right now. And, well, what do they think? We can't do this now? They bring in a guy that's numbers aren't all that good. They got guys on the bench that have numbers that good. So I was glad to see that decision wasn't part of the Brewers' mindset.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I did have a buddy of mine say that he reached out to me. He's like, what are your thoughts? Should the Brewers get him? And I'm like, no. And he wanted the Brewers So we were going a little back and forth, and I was looking at some of his numbers. Postseason numbers are not good for Hayward. It was 148, and he's played a lot of postseason games.
Yeah, he has.
148. Even his numbers at American Family Field in the last 3 years, batting average .08 something. I mean, they were not good. They were not good.
Well, he
right
hasn't
now.
been good since he left Atlanta and signed a big deal with the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't all that good. He never really had a standout season for the Cubs with all the money he made there.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, to me, if you're going to do that, it's for postseason. But he hasn't really performed in the postseason.
No, that's what I say. They got guys on that roster already that are a whole lot cheaper that have done every bit as much as Jason Hayward has this year. In the last 3 years, he hasn't, for a long time, he hasn't been. Everybody thought he was going to be a perennial all-star when he came up with the Braves. I believe it was the Braves he came up with before he went to Chicago, and he just never really panned out. A lot of ability. You look at him, he can throw and he can run, and when he does hit it, he can hit it, but too few and far between misses for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right, let's take a quick break, and we'll take a look at today's game. Aaron Savali is on the mound for the Brewers, as the Brewers will try to pick up another series win. We'll preview that as we start to finish up the first hour. We've got some green and gold chat. We'll tell you a little bit more about the Packers' brand new kicker. They're going to try their, 20th, whatever the number is this year. We'll get to that coming up next hour. 1:10 first pitch today, this afternoon, as the Brew Crew will try to go for a series win against the Giants. Aaron Savali is going to be on the mound tonight, for this afternoon, tonight, whatever you want to call it, going up there for the Brewers. 4-8, 4.84 ERA so far this season for Mr. Aaron Savali. So he's looking for his 5th win of the season. When you look at, it's all about what have you done for me lately here. And Savali, he had that game back on the 16th against Cleveland, where it's easily his best performance, or one of his best performances for the Brewers. Where he picked up the win, 6 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs. He followed that up with a game against Oakland, where he went just 4 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, but he walked 4 in that game. But this is also, we talk about this stretch of the final 30 games here for the Brewers, not only for seeding, playoff seeding, and obviously winning the division, but for guys like Aaron Savali and maybe like a Frankie Montas to show that, hey, I should be a part of that playoff roster, maybe part of the rotation, playoff starting rotation there, because I think it's fair to say we know the top 3, unless there's injuries, knock on wood. But it's Freddie, it's Colin Ray. I would throw Tobias Myers in there. And if you do the typical 4-man starting rotation when it comes to the postseason, you're looking at whether it's going to be Frankie Montas or Aaron Savali, or maybe it's a combination of both. But Aaron Savali, I think, in his next few outings, however many he's going to have to finish up the regular season, going to have to put together some stretches of some solid outings for Pat Murphy to want to include you in that discussion.
You are, or if he doesn't, is Murphy going to be creative again and start a guy for an inning or two and, make it a bullpen game to get back to his 3 trusted starters?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of options out there, and I'm sure he won't be afraid to use any of them.
And remember, though, too, you got your playoff rosters, so some guys won't be active or eligible, if you will, to get in there, too. So you have to keep that in a mindset with pitchers. You're hoping, you get guys that can go out there and pitch well, obviously, that can eat up some innings, like Colin Ray. I said this on Monday. I was going to listen to the broadcast coming back from Green Bay, and I think it was Lane Grindle that described Colin Ray this way. And I thought it was a pretty accurate, I never thought of it this way, but it was pretty accurate. It's a calming presence when Colin Ray is on the mound, because you kind of just know what to expect. He's not going to do anything fancy. He's not going to blow by anybody. He's just been pretty darn solid throughout this whole year.
And he keeps the ball in the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the problems the Brewer pitching staff the other night when with the reliever laid low or whatever, the ball, whatever, gave up the home run and they lost the game. And Peralta has had a tendency to throw some gopher balls. You got to keep the ball in the ballpark to have a chance to win, and that's what Colin Ray does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so easily one of the best surprises in all of this fantastic and fun Brewer season so far this year. But yeah, I go back to Aaron Savali. I look at him as, okay, this is kind of maybe how do I want to best describe it? Almost like an audition, maybe in these next few games to see, what the Brewers plan to do for that potential 4th spot in that rotation. Maybe it is a combination of Frankie and Savali. Maybe you throw in a little DL Hall in there. Maybe it is kind of that bullpen one there too, because the thing is they've got guys in the bullpen that can go a couple innings. It's not just one inning. I mean, a Koenig can go a couple innings. Hudson can go a couple innings. If you throw Joe Ross or DL Hall or Aaron Ashby, those are guys that have started games and can give you multiple innings coming out of the pen too. So that might be part of the option on the table.
That's what I say. I don't think Murphy is feeling too much pressure because he's got different options. If he doesn't have 4 dependable starters, he's not going to worry about it because they got other dependable pitchers that can all work a game for me. And so I don't think he's too worried about that right now. Of course, his first worry is let's get there first, and then we'll worry about the rosters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the opposing pitcher on the mound for the for the Giants is going to be Hayden Birdsong, a youngster, 22. Gosh, if you haven't seen his picture, he looks younger than 22, and that's saying something.
I haven't seen him.
Holy moly, he looks like he should be in high school right now. But he has started 10 games so far this year, 3-3 with a 4.57 ERA. He's coming off of a no decision back on the 23rd against Seattle. 4 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, did strike out 5. But his last couple outings, he's been having some issues with walking batters. He had 4 walks in that 4 innings against Seattle in the game prior against Oakland, 3 walks in 4 2/3 of work there too. And some of these losses, like the one loss against Oakland that he got charged for, he only gave up 1 earned run. Detroit, he went 4 1/3 and gave up 5 earned runs in his game back on August over there. But man, you want to talk about a baby face. That is a baby face right there.
Yeah.
0-3, 7.80 ERA in the month of August in 4 games he has started. And that was after July, where he started 5 games, but 3-0 with a 2.45.
And
ERA.
one thing the Brewers have been doing lately, I think they did it against the Dodgers, is take pitches. They're not swinging at wild pitches out of the strike zone. They're forcing these pitchers to throw a lot of pitches, and their totals are adding up. So, by the 5th, 6th inning, these guys are getting to the point where, they're getting to the end because 95, 100 pitches is a lot. And the Brewers are forcing these guys to throw a lot of pitches because they've got discipline at the plate, which helps a lot. You can think back not too long ago, Ryan Braun, you throw him a slider, 3-2, 0-2, 1-2, he's going to strike out every time because he really went for that ball down and out. And that's a tough pitch to stay off of, I'll tell you that. But I think the Brewers are very, very disciplined at the plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see if they can take advantage of the youngster going up there on the mound. And yeah, you look at his numbers in his first 2 months, obviously a better start in July, but maybe they can tack on some runs against the youngster later on this afternoon and escape Milwaukee. I shouldn't say escape Milwaukee, but leave Milwaukee with another series win and then take on the Reds coming up here starting tomorrow.
Bring it down to 19.
Yeah, right. Get down under 20 there. I don't know why 19 sounds a lot better than 20. I think once you get in the teens, it's like, oh, okay, now we're getting.
The end is in sight.
Yep, exactly. It's like when you turn 17 years old, it's like 17 felt so much older than 16. I don't know why, but it just felt different.
But 18, when I was a kid, 18 was the magic number because of the liquor laws in Wisconsin back then. You had your 18-year-old beer bars, and so 18 was that number.
I think it maybe for 17 for me was because, one, I graduated when I was 17, but by the time, because it was like so backlogged and all that, and I had a summer birthday, 17, was I 17? No, it's like 16 and a half by the time I got my license, just because of like school years, and we had drivers in school.
I got my driver's license the day I turned 16.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I was one of the youngest kids in my class, so all these other guys were taking gals on dates in the car, and you want to go to the movie? We'll catch the bus.
Oh.
So that wasn't the greatest way to do it. So on my 16th birthday, which is in November, and I started school young, so I was young when I graduated too. I didn't wait long to get my driver's license. As soon as I could, I did.
Yeah. Ours was a part of the curriculum in school, so I couldn't take class until school was in session. So that was the downfall there.
Yeah.
But all right, we only got a couple minutes to the top here. So coming up next hour, we'll do a little Throwback Thursday. We'll get to some Packers chat. Badgers also kicking off tomorrow. You going to the game tomorrow night?
You bet.
Atta boy. It's going to be different to actually have an alcoholic beverage at Camp Randall.
Well,
you're going to partake it just because it's never happened before?
Well, I'm going to see how they do it. I'm sure, and I don't, they talk now about, it was always Barry Alvarez's burr under his saddle that these college kids weren't in the stands at kickoff. Well, it was talked about this before, was their policy. They herded them up and they ushered them in one by one like cattle or horses, instead of, the rest of the fans don't get in there any sooner than the students. It's just that students are all in those sections in the north end zone, because I've got my seats and I like to be there by kickoff. And I'm still the whole first quarter up and down, letting people in. So don't blame the students. It's the regular fans as well, because they're out having their tailgate parties, which I don't blame them. It's fun. But so don't blame the students. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to take even more time now because they're going to have to put wristbands on everybody pretty much, like they do at when you go to some of the fairs. You got to have a 21-year-old wristband.
Or the express games,
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, you got to have your wristband. So if they're going to put wristbands on, how long is that going to take? And what is the price going to be? We all know what the price is at American Family Field for a beverage like that, a malted beverage, a beer. So what is it going to be? Are they going to charge 11, 12, $13 for a beer? That's not, at least when I was a student, that was not within my budget range. I drank Power Box CB for 25 cents a bottle, and if you're charging 11, 12, $13 for a beer at the Badger game, I can't imagine a lot of students are going to be imbibing because they probably started the tailgate parties already.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like they're going to need it because school isn't in session yet. So this opening weekend is going to be students in Madison, but just getting into their apartments or their dorms, and they're going to be getting together, have parties on the lawns because the weather's going to be really nice. And I want to see what the process is more than I want to be. I can drink a beer any place. I don't need it because I don't need to get up and down during the game to go to the bathroom. I go to watch the game, so I can drink beer anytime. But I'm not saying I won't have one, but I'm interested in what the process is going to be, and how much they're going to charge.
Oh, I got the amount charged here for you right now. So like a Coors, Miller Lite, Busch Light, Bud Lights for a 16-ounce can is $9.49.
They're going to give them cans?
For local ones like a Spotted Cow or Wisconsin Amber for a 12-ounce can is $9.49. If you're into White Claw, seltzer's $8.99. Then some other like Neutral is like $10.49 for a 10-ounce can. Clear plastic cans of Woodbridge wine and Chardonnay or Cabernet Sauvignon, $10.49 for 187 milliliters, roughly equivalent to a glass.
Well,
So,
$9.47 is certainly within the realm of what people charge. I don't think it's bad at all. I can't believe they're going to give them cans. What are they going to do with the cans? They get lit up with a bad call. Those cans might be thrown on the field.
don't do that, Bob.
No,
Don't do that.
I got to see that.
All right, 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go here. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick news updates. Second hour on this Thursday morning kicks off right now. Happy August 29th. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Thursday morning. Coming up, we'll get to a little receiver defer towards the back end of this hour. We've got outdoor tidbits with Jake Boakes. He'll be joining us at about 8:30. So if you have any questions, you have to text them on over to 715-830-1912. So we'll get to Jake at about 8:30 this morning. Let's kick off this hour with a little Throwback Thursday coming at you. 1971, Hank Aaron became the first baseball player in the National League to hit 100 or more home runs in each of his 11 seasons. 1971. Also, we'll throw in a little Lou Brock one, 1977. Lou Brock brought his total of stolen bases to 893. The record he beat was held by Ty Cobb for 49 years. And then some dude named Ricky Henderson was pretty good at stealing bases too. So
not bad.
Not bad. So those are just a couple of let's throw this one in, just kind of a fun one. 1892. Pop Billy Shriver of Chicago Cubs caught a ball that was dropped from the top of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.
What year was that? I remember the
1892. Yeah. So you were probably about 21 years old then. So,
But somebody had done the calculations about how far it was falling, the weight of the ball, and how much speed it was picking up, and how fast it was coming when he caught it. And I haven't ever remembered those numbers, but it was impressive.
Yeah. So those are just a couple Throwback Thursday nuggets for you here this morning. I mean, we threw a couple of baseball ones in there, but this year too could be a couple of historic seasons. Well, it is already a couple of historic seasons, but I'm curious to see how it all ends with Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani right now with what they're doing. I mean, Ohtani's on pace for 51-51. I would never. You just look at the guy. Like if you just standing there, it would be like you're not going to steal 51 bases this year. But the guy, he's got the power, he's got the speed over there.
And you look at his size, and you wouldn't think he could steal bases.
That's what I was like. Yeah, looking at him, like, no, you're too big.
Exactly.
You're not doing that. So, but I mean, you got that, and then Aaron Judge with his home runs and all that. Let me ask you this question. I don't think he's going to do it this year unless he goes on a fantastic run. Even though he plays for the Yankees, would you want a guy like Aaron Judge to beat Barry Bonds' home run record?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
I'd want you to break Barry Bonds' home run record.
So anybody but Barry
in
yours?
Just because of the stain that era has put on baseball. You know, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, I'm sure Rafael Palmeiro is paying the ultimate price for doing what he did. He's got Hall of Fame numbers, never going to get there. But I want anybody if we can wipe those guys. And I mean, they're great baseball players, but poor decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'd just like to see somebody else with those records.
Mm-hmm. Feel like, because a lot of times it's like maybe some fans like, I don't want a Yankee to do that or that. But
I don't care about that.
I think we talked about it maybe last week or the week, but Aaron Judge is a little bit different where I feel like people like Aaron Judge because doesn't have the ego from all accounts. And I know it's kind of dangerous to assume, but he puts his head down, runs the bases and all that sort of stuff that people enjoy. He's not a bat flipper or anything like that. So I wonder, are we ever going to get to that talk, back-to-back years of his home run numbers? Is that going to be a talking point maybe for next year or the next couple of years? Is he a guy that could break that 73 from Barry Bonds?
Well, I think so. And I was listening yesterday. I was on the road and I was heading down towards the river, Alma and Nelson on that way. And I was listening to Dan Patrick, who follows you in the morning. And he had Michael Kay on the Yankee announcer.
Yep.
And he was saying that, Aaron Judge had a horrible April. I don't know what his numbers were, but obviously not very good. He said if he'd had just an average April of 9 or 10 home runs, we'd be talking some of those other numbers,
right,
pushing 70.
Right.
But that's the importance of the fact that you've got to play the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford a month off or a month off your normal numbers. And
Right.
that's what's going to hurt Aaron Judge as far as the big number. I mean, these are still great numbers, but the big number at the end of the year, if he had that bad in April.
I'm looking at, some of his numbers here, and you just kind of wonder, the 2020, the COVID year, he played 28 games and just 9 home runs, but his second year, 2017, he had 52 home runs. And then obviously he had the 62 home runs in 2022, 37 last year, but up to 51 so far this year now too. 308 total for his career. I mean, I don't think we're going to be talking about career home run numbers or anything like that, breaking bonds or anything like that. I mean, he's already 32
years
yeah,
old,
32 years old in that. So, but I think, you talk about it maybe heading into next year. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Well, he's 32 and he's got 300 and some home runs
308. Yep.
And Bonds has 760 or something like that, or
Yep.
but you figured if he plays 10 more years,
762.
and he hits 10 more years and he hits between 40 and 50 a year, he's right there.
So I'm looking at,
because he's over 300 now. He's going to be, if he can stay healthy for 10 more years, he could push the number.
So Bond's final year was he played up until he was 42 years old. Judge is 32, so he would have to do, what's basic math? 10 more years. He'd almost have to have 40 a year.
Yeah, that's
40,
not out,
a little over 40 a year.
That's not out of the realm of possibility. So he could.
Interesting.
He could.
Judge watch. All rise.
I think there will be in another 6-7 years. There will be a Judge watch if he stays healthy, and he's had tendencies to be injured, and he can't afford to be on a 30-day DL or anything like that in the next 10 years. He's got to stay healthy. I think that's one reason that they say he could steal bases too, but they think don't steal. We need you in the batter's box. And so Ohtani, I don't know, he literally, like our parents, don't you understand English? And so Ohtani probably doesn't hear the fact that we'd like you rather hit than if we had our choice, we'd rather be hitting than running the bases.
Yeah, but Judge, the thing that I think, a lot of people you talk about with intentional walks and that, but he's got protection across that lineup too.
Well, Soto, that's why I say,
yeah.
I think he'll be pushing a lot to have the Yankees sign Soto to a longer term extension. And Kay was talking about that yesterday also with Dan Patrick, the fact that Juan Soto likes it in New York. He likes the reception he gets from Yankee fans, and he likes the team. He just likes the whole thing. So he said if it comes down to dollars, if it's not outrageous difference in dollars from some other team, he will more likely stay with the Yankees. Time will tell, but that was Michael Kay's observation.
Yeah. So be interesting for sure. No doubt about it.
Oh, boy, will it ever.
But yeah, definitely a couple of historic seasons between Ohtani and Judge, and probably the MVPs of both leagues this year, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's why I've got a receiver defer on that. But we'll hold that for the receiver defer. We'll defer.
We'll defer until the receiver defer.
Until we get to the receiver defer timetable.
So switching over to a little college football, since the Badgers start tomorrow, but we got a slate of games that start tonight. Quite a big slate of games.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, Gophers are playing tonight. They're playing against North Carolina.
At home or on the road?
In Minnesota.
Okay.
Illinois.
That could be tricky with the weather forecast.
Yeah, Illinois is playing, Rutgers playing. So you got some couple of Big Ten teams in action tonight. But I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about North Dakota State taking on the Deion Sanderses over there in Colorado. Kansas is also in action too. So you got to give a shout out to Coach Lance Leipold, number 22 ranked Kansas Jayhawks over there.
Jayhawks are ranked. The Badgers are not.
But a big slate of some college football action coming at you tonight. So with this Badger football season kicking off tomorrow, what are your predictions, Badger fans? What are your expectations for this team? Let us know. Hit us up with the text 715-830-1912. Your official prediction for this Badger football season? Let us know. We know it's a big, well, first of all, expansion of the Big Ten. So you've got Oregon, you've got USC on the schedule, also Alabama on the schedule for the third week of the season here. Penn State's a highly ranked team again this year. You got that stretch of games with Penn State, Iowa, and Oregon. Two of the three are at home. Penn State and Oregon at home at Camp Randall. Dude, you got some good home tickets to be going to this year with Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, and all that. You got some primo games to be attending this year.
You want to buy a set? You want to buy a set? I'll make you a deal.
Yeah.
I think right now, because I've got a receiver defer about the Badgers too, and I've changed it about 3 times, but I don't think right now, because of what we've seen with this Badger team, guys leaving, guys coming in, I don't know how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
You really don't. I mean, the guys they brought in aren't, marquee names like you're seeing at Ohio State. They brought this defensive back in from Alabama. How much did that cost them? Kid who's an All-American as a freshman. Now he's at Ohio State. How much did that cost him? So we don't have any at Madison, any marquee players. I don't know if Minnesota has on their draft or on their transfer portal, if they got any great players. I don't know. Until they play a game or two with the transfers for the teams like the Badgers, like the Gophers, even like Iowa was rated, Kansas, they're rated, but lower in the 25. I don't know how good they're going to be. Some of these guys are going to perform beyond what we expected. Others probably going to fall short like they always do. So until they play a game or two, it's going to be hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk some college football coming up here. We'll talk some Packers too.
Yeah.
Brand new kicker at Lambeau Field. We'll tell you what Goody had to say yesterday in his press conference about finalizing the initial 53-man roster. Some interesting comments from him regarding how he views specialists. Those are the punters and kickers and such. So we'll take a quick break and we'll talk some football coming up after these quick words. Packers, as we know, have set their initial 53-man roster the other day. They've already adjusted it here with a brand new kicker, bringing in a brand new kicker who was cut from the Tennessee Titans, and he's a rookie too. So we're going to be a little bit of an unknown over here. Braden Narvison is the man to get to know here. Did well in the preseason, 6-7, hit a 59-yarder, hit his extra points and over there too, but definitely not a ton on him. We're not a lot of experience on him either. But Brian Gutekunst addressed the media yesterday after the Packers put together their initial 53-man roster here, and made an interesting comment about how he evaluates specialists like kickers and punters and such. Quote, "I'm probably not as patient with specialists as I should be. I'm really not. I give Ted a lot of credit. Certainly, he was a much more patient man than I was. I think Mason was under 80% until his fifth year. And then that sixth year was my first year in the office in 2012. And I think it was 60 some percent and missed like 12 kicks. I can tell you right now, there were people in the office who were like, let's move on. So I probably need to be more patient. I mean, we had J.K. Scott in here, and now he's turned into a very good punter. But at the same time, I'm very confident in this team and what we can accomplish. I want to make sure we give this team every opportunity to win. So there's going to be a standard that we try to reach." End quote. Should Goody have been more patient with Anders Carlson?
I think Carlson missed big kicks. You know, in the playoffs last year and other games, he missed big kicks that were makeable kicks. And that tells me that the kid under pressure is not the guy you want your game playoff life balanced on. I don't doubt the kid's ability, his kicking leg, but well, for lack of a better term, I question his guts. How tough is he in a tough situation? You know, I think that was probably, and that's something you have to address too, because, you know, these guys have cold water in their veins, or are they nervous as a cat? You know, I think that's part of it. And I think that's what a coach's and a general manager's responsibility are, to maybe see through the leg strength and look at the kid. How tough is this kid? And I think that's where Carlson really lost it, because of the kicks he missed at crucial times.
Is that, just to play maybe a little devil's advocate, is that fair to assess after just 1 year?
Like, in this game, you don't have time. You don't have an opportunity to do that. You know, I think it's just too high a stakes nowadays.
Okay.
And that's, you know, my thing. I think he's going to catch on with somebody. I think he's going to end up probably being a pretty good kicker. But this initial experience in the NFL, and he came to a team that was on, you know, if the Packers had played the whole season, all 17 games, like they played the first 8 or so, then I don't think there'd have been, you know, then I think Carlson would still be there, because I don't think they'd had a pressure kick to kick. But the way this team turned it around, they needed a guy that was going to be able to match the ability of the offense and the defense in the last, 8, 9, 10 games of that season. And he didn't do it.
Some other comments from Matt LaFleur yesterday, talking about the kicking situation. Says that it's definitely, quote, uncharted territory for a team that he's been with. He did defer questions about getting Narvison ready to special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia. He's going to be talking to reporters today, but he said, you just have to come in and perform. I don't know how else to put it, but it's definitely a unique situation. And even said it would affect play calling to begin the season, saying, quote, absolutely 100%. I think you've got to take into account all the circumstances. No different, though, like when you go out and there's inclement weather, sometimes that affects some of the decision making you make. We'll see. At least we'll get a couple days with him to kind of get a feel for him as he performs. What's hard is you just don't have any game experience with him, but he did a nice job in Tennessee. I know that. And what he was referring to about, altering play calls, potentially maybe going for it on fourth down a little bit more until they maybe get a better feel of of where their new kicker is at this point in time. So Goody also saying about the kicking situation, I think it's a culmination of the whole camp and everything. For me and I think our group as we went through it, it was just we were going to try to get better there. And whether that was Anders, whether that was somebody from outside, it didn't matter. But we needed to get better. We felt we needed to get better. So that's kind of the reason why we made the decision. Kickers in this league, some of them come out right away and they can handle it. And sometimes they've got to bounce around a few times before they land. I think Anders is probably going to be one of those guys. He's got a ton of credit or a ton of talent.
That's what I was referring to. First time out, it's a big, you kick in Lambeau Field with all those people and all that tradition. That's a lot of pressure on you. Now, if he goes someplace else, maybe he'll go to Tennessee where Narvis and Kale, although they've got a good kicker down there, but he might go someplace where they're not in the hunt, so to speak. And kicking in Green Bay in the wintertime, in late fall, is a tough nut to crack versus kicking in just about any place. Chicago, Green Bay, it's cold. And Minnesota, Detroit, they're under a dome. I mean, the environment plays a part in it too. But when Carlson missed that 30-yard field goal in the last game, I thought too, well, I hope he's got his suitcase packed.
Yeah, and I know Goody said that didn't factor into it, which I think that's kind of GM speak. I think it probably did a little bit. I mean,
I would think it had to.
And I mentioned the quote or the tweet from Ryan Wood after the game when they're in the locker room. He noted it kind of felt like Anders knew at that moment what was going to happen after the Saturday's game, and I feel like if your kicker kind of knows that, the writing was already kind of on the wall at that point in time. So, I mean, I hope this Braden kid works out. I mean, I don't want to go September through January, hopefully into February, still talking about kickers. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to talk about that. I'd rather.
And I don't think the team does either. This should be something where you've got a guy. This is your job. When it comes time to do it, do your job. And I don't think with Carlson they felt comfortable with him at all. I mean, all last year I never felt comfortable with him, even on extra points. I mean, he's got a great leg, but his track record had shown that, man, he was a scattergun. It'd go one side or the other, and he just wasn't reliable enough. Good kicker, great, could be maybe a great kicker. I don't know. But these guys have to do it the same way. It's like a golf swing. If your golf swing gets out of whack, you're in trouble. Well, his leg swing got out of whack. He got himself in trouble. And that's the thing, repeatability. Mm-hmm. And if you can't have repeatability on that leg swing, you're not going to be consistent enough to make it in the NFL.
I know I mentioned it the other day, but, when you factor in, and he's back on the practice squad, and I understand that, but it's different, where they release Sean Clifford, who is also entering his second year. I don't think you can, and I know he gets tagged with him a lot because he worked under him and he's a protege, but for Goody, I don't think you can necessarily compare him a lot to Ted in terms of holding on to his draft picks and getting the benefit of the doubt. Like the picks getting the benefit of the doubt. I think Ted with his draft picks maybe held on to him a little bit longer just because they were his draft picks. Goody cut his quarterback, who he spent a 5th round pick on. Yes, he's back in the practice squad, but he's not the main backup. He cut his kicker after 1 year. He's done it with other rookies in the past. I mean, he's mentioned it with J.K. Scott and such too. I think as a Packers fan, when I see okay, they're not being complacent and just rolling with this, to me it signals, and he kind of alluded to it, they have a high level of expectation for these guys. You either perform or you're out, or you're out of here.
It's too big a business nowadays.
Right. And I think for me as a fan from the outside, when I see that, it's like, okay, they understand the situation they're in. We think they're in contention for a Super Bowl or championships. And when I see moves like this, it sucks. It stinks because you want your guys to play well. But to me, that's also confirmation they understand the situation they're in right now and what's at stake.
Yeah. And are you more surprised because of the demise of J.K. Scott or Anders Carlson? I was surprised. Carlson was an unknown to me. I didn't know anything about him. But J.K. Scott, when he came in here to the Packers as a punter, I thought this job is set for 15 years.
JK, I think, had the benefit also too of coming in with a little bit more praise because when Anders was drafted, there was already like, okay, dude didn't have great percentage at Auburn, so there was already kind of that mindset,
Yep.
like, okay, little skepticism there. JK came in big leg, little unorthodox too, because he was like so straight, I mean, the guy, unique punting form, compared to a lot. I also think what helped JK is the whole family story. They got a family cabin in Cable, Wisconsin,
Oh,
so there
that's
was,
right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
so he kind of came in with a little bit more fanfare and such. So I think that helped him. So I think, yeah, I'd probably be a little disappointed that the JK one didn't work out more.
Yeah, I was, I don't know if I'd use the word disappointed, but I was just surprised because the numbers this guy came in with, and like you said, the hype, for lack of a better term, I thought this is a guy that's going to have this job for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. And he was, I think, initially a fan. Our own former Neil Abear. I was with him when he bought a J.K. Scott jersey, for crying out loud, and maybe that's what was the demise after
Well, you
that
never know,
over there. But
that was more surprising to me than the Carlson one because, like you said, when he came in, I remember people saying, "Well, it's just the guy the Packers really want. He's not that consistent." And boy, he lived up to that in his 1 year with the Packers. Consistency was not his strong suit.
mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
really wasn't, and you can't have that. You just can't have that in the NFL. Guy's going to miss one occasionally. Most human kickers, although there's a couple of guys in the league that never miss, but you can't have that. You just
mm-hmm.
cannot count on a guy hold our breath on every extra point from any field goal 30 yards and longer. You hold your breath. Those should be 30 to 40-yard field goals should be gimmies
Well,
for
that's kind
for the
of,
kicker. Now
yeah.
how the hold and the snap ball go is a different thing, but as far as the kicker, a 40-yard field goal, unless there's a gale wind growing across the field, but for most conditions in most games, a 40-yard field goal should be a gimme.
Well, and that's kind of like, we talk about kickers and their leg strength right now. And it was giving me reminders of like when we talk about pitchers and, the pitchers just want to throw hard right now, right? They want to get their miles per hour up there and that. But would you rather have a kicker who has the strongest leg in the league or a kicker who's really consistent from 30 to 49?
Yeah, Mason Crosby.
Mm-hmm. I think I'd rather have the 30 to
Yeah,
49,
yeah. The last few years of his career, he was money.
Where I feel good about that. Yes, it's awesome that, that guy hit a 60-yarder. But if you're going to miss the extra points now that are longer, and those 40-yarders, I'd rather have that, on a consistent basis.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's where great that they can hit 59 and 60 and all that, but give me the consistency within the normal range.
Because you look in a game, how many times are you going to have an opportunity for a 40-yard field goal, and how many times are you going to have an opportunity for a 59 or 60-yard field goal? I want the consistency from 40, 45 yards in versus that one-time 59 or 60-yard field goal.
Especially when you do play outdoors the majority part of your games.
Yeah.
If it's one thing that maybe you're in a dome and you're indoors and you have a controlled environment and all that, but Mason Crosby's talked about it a lot throughout his career, and you kind of mentioned it. There is a unique wind in Lambeau Field when Aaron Rodgers has even talked about it at that point, at different points too, how it swirls within the bowl over there. And
especially now since it's all enclosed, that wind gets down in there and it just swirls around.
Fans, we may not feel it or experience it sitting in the seats, but it's obvious that players, right. That's where I always thought it was unique because Mason was such a huge golfer, and it's kind of got to play that similar kind of mindset a little bit.
He did it well.
He did. So, Packers did practice yesterday a little bit. Malik Willis, their brand new backup quarterback, was at practice there too. So he was over there. The only player to not practice was Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie running back. So I guess for the most part, everybody's healthy. Packers, with all the waiver claims though, the Packers had 3 guys claims so whoever the Green Bay released, other teams claimed. I think it was tied for the most. 3 guys that were claimed off waivers. The Giants claimed safety Anthony Johnson Jr. Grant DeBose was claimed by the Miami Dolphins, and then Royce Newman was claimed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I guess that, as some people are saying, that kind of showcases the depth of the roster that they had in certain parts.
Yeah, did the AJ Dillon move catch you? It caught me completely by surprise. I didn't even know he was hurt. Now he's
Mhm.
done for the year. Is this an injury of convenience for the Packers or what?
No, we talked a little bit about it with Dr. Crow last week with the stinger issue, and because it kind of ended his season last year, and then it popped back up, same issue there. And I don't want to spread maybe any false stuff out there, but you start to worry about Sterling Sharp type of
Oh
neck
yeah,
injury
yeah.
sort of thing, Nick Collins, that sort of thing. Especially with him not getting the designated to return status, so he's done unless they can work out a buyout if a team's willing to clear him from a health standpoint. But that's kind of where the mindset is right now.
So AJ Dillon is never coming back to the Packers.
Not for this year, for sure. So, but that's
Now, I
where a
know
lot of
not this year, but
expectation. But a lot of people think he's done for his career's done over there.
well, that caught me by surprise. I never expected that. I liked watching him. I thought he played hard.
And Lafleur, you could tell yesterday was very disappointed in how, because it sounded like they had something planned for him this year, certain packages and such. But let me see if I can find some of the quotes coming up here from Lafleur yesterday about AJ. But definitely he was very not mad at AJ because you can't control that.
No, no,
Just
absolutely
disappointed.
not.
Yeah, he said, "quote It's really discouraging because we had a pretty clear vision for what he was going to do. It wasn't just as a runner. The versatility was that I was most excited about in regards to doing a lot of things." And he even threw out that it leaves a void within our offense right now. So
Yeah,
I don't.
because he was like I said, he played hard when he was on the field. He gave you everything he had, and if they had more packages designed for him this year that obviously aren't going to happen now, that does hurt your offense.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
especially with the rookie injured, you're really putting all your eggs in Jacob's basket is what it amounts to.
more of that bell cow now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Hopefully he stays healthy
right, yeah. And we
because
saw it a
that's
little
a
bit in practice too, where Jacobs and Dillon were out there together for two back sets, and Matt LaFleur even mentioned it again yesterday too. So, but all right, we got to take a break for a little receiver tour. By the way, if you are in Green Bay driving by, they are doing practice, a night practice tonight at Lambeau Field. Nobody's allowed to go, but they're actually having practice at Lambeau to try to mimic the game day night opener in Brazil. So,
oh, that's a night game in Brazil.
yep, for next Friday night. So, yeah.
What
But
city are they playing in?
Uh, you're gonna try to make me pronounce city that
Sao Paulo or
I
Rio de Janeiro
think it's
or
Sao Paulo. Let me double check here quick.
because I guess all I've heard is Brazil. I haven't heard what city they were in. If they're going to be in Rio or
Sao Paulo.
Sao
Yep.
Paulo,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. So 7:15 our time, Friday night. So next Friday night.
All righty,
As of right now, Eagles are 2.5-point favorites,
good.
which whatever. Don't matter to me. We'll take a quick break. We'll do some receiver defer coming up to finish up the second hour. Last call for any questions for Mr. Jake Boakes. He's coming up at about 8:30. So hit us up with those questions via the text line 715-830-1912. Next Friday, we'll be over at Hy-Vee doing the program with Green Bay, kicking off the season that night. And Hy-Vee is going to be doing some awesome stuff, including some tailgate menus, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast quesadillas, breakfast nachos over there, plus 30% off the sports shop over there. So if you need some swag, whether it's for Green Bay or maybe some of your local teams over there, you can hit that up. You got some Man Cave Light, pick those up. Other specials going on. Packer 12-inch cookie, it looks like, for $10 over there too. Giveaways, Packer appliances, sports shop gear, $50 gift card, all that good stuff there. So we're going to be over there 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. do a little tailgate show next Friday before kickoff that night for Green Bay. Let's do a little receive or defer to finish up the second hour. What do you got there, sir?
Well, with this Badgers, I wanted a receiver defer for the Badger football team, and I've gone a lot of different directions of how to ask this. But receiver defer, the Badgers will make a bowl game, because I thought about asking it the other way. The Badgers will not make a bowl game this year.
I'll receive it. I think 6-7 wins at least at minimum. I'll receive that they get in.
I hope you're right. We'll find out. We'll know more.
What's your prediction for wins?
I don't know. Like
Okay.
I said earlier, I don't know what to expect out of this team. They've got this quarterback come in. Every year you're getting new quarterbacks. And I was listening to, and I see Graham Mertz is still playing for Florida. He's still on their roster this year. So he's going to be playing. And, I'm not that I'm wishing him to come back, but he's playing college football still down in Florida. But anyway, I hope the Badgers make it. I'll tell you more next week after I've seen them play against Western Michigan, because this schedule is one of the toughest they've ever had. And, and I don't know the strength of this team.
Which home game are you looking forward to the most just as a fan? Is it Alabama or Oregon?
Oregon. Yeah, because I can't go to the Alabama game.
Oh, okay.
But I'm looking, because it's going to be tough. That's for sure. Receiver defer. If Bobby Witt Jr. was a Yankee and Aaron Judge was a Royal,
I know
the MVP vote might be different. Or is that home run number such a big...
So numbers are all the same, right? Statistics are all the same?
What they're doing right now.
Yeah, so just flip them to the team. So Judge still has 50...
media markets and things like that.
So he still has 51 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. still doing what he's doing. The fact that if Kansas City is in that playoff chase like they are, I think Aaron Judge would still be MVP.
Yeah, I think the home run is a bigger number.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
But Bobby Witt is sure earning his contract.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Also, receiver defer. If Aaron Judge was playing at American Family Field instead of Yankee Stadium, he'd have 70 home runs.
At a season's end or right now?
No, at the season's end.
Okay.
And more than just one season.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could hit. I received that because I think he could place hitter-friendly park like AmFam Field. I think he could. He might knock the scoreboard off the wall back there.
I'll defer, but I'll say like 66.
Well,
so over there.
In other words, if he played there, if he played at AmFam Field for the next 10 years, he'd probably break Barry Bonds' record without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and one more. Receiver defer. Jackson Churio is making up for the loss of Christian Yelich.
Oh, yeah, receive it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Be nice to have them both, but I think Churio has been a nice benefit for the Brewers. Yelich is absent. Yelich was having a decent year.
Oh, he was an all-star, hitting over 300 in that. Yeah. Definitely going to lead to, I think, a conversation in the offseason about, Yelich playing more DH and leaving Jackson Churio in left field, going forward, which...
I don't know how Yelich feels about that, if he really likes to play in the field.
I think he does.
He's so quiet.
But, he's mentioned he'd rather play in the field, not be a DH. But, I mean...
And I don't blame him. I would feel the same way.
Yep.
You don't feel like you're part of the game if you're not on the field.
Right. So, that'll be interesting to see how that goes next year, conversation goes. So,
how long is Yelich still having that massive contract he signed? Because I know he signed isn't compared to what they're signing for now isn't all that big. It's still a great number, but I don't know how many years he really has on that contract.
He they have a mutual option in 2029. So
wow, so he's there for a while.
Yeah, he's here for a little bit yet. So and then an unrestricted free agent in 2030. So, but yeah, you're right. Because if you look at it, I mean, he's making $22 million per year, which honestly is, compared to a lot of people, ain't that much anymore.
No, it's not.
This was from James. James, I'm assuming you mean Malik Willis, but James said the Packers should put Malik Heath on the inactive list. I think you mean Malik Willis inactive list and call up Sean Clifford from the practice squad until Heath is comfortable with the offense. Well, I mean, you can't put him on an inactive list. I mean, he's on your roster right now. So, I mean, you can't put him on. There is no inactive list to put him on there. And remember, with the new practice squad rules, you can call up somebody. So, I mean, they may do that the first couple of weeks and have them active off the practice squad. But other than that, I mean, that's, there's no inactive list or something like that. So,
no, and there's a reason they did what they did. They made the moves. Those two guys that were backing up Jordan Love didn't show the promise that they thought they should, and they made the move they thought they had to make.
And Matt LaFleur did say yesterday, too, that Willis, with his familiarity with the offense, is actually a lot more. They were doing a lot more of what Green Bay does. They were doing in Tennessee, so that was kind of a nice surprise. LaFleur said that it's not as big of a catch up sort of appearance as they originally thought. So,
yeah, I have no idea. I've never seen Malik Willis play. I don't know, what their reason was to go after him, but I think they thought they had to make a move because they didn't feel confident in the backups that could come in and run the scheme that the Packers are running with Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see. I hope I don't have to see him though this year because that means that Jordan Love's the only time I want to see him is if his knee's getting dirty from putting down kneel downs in victory formation.
Yep.
It's the only time I want to see Malik Willis. No offense. I hope he's probably a good kid in that, but I don't want to see him on the field this year.
No, I don't think you ever want to see your backup quarterback on the field when there's more than 2 minutes left in a game when you're just running out the clock.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, or it's Green Bay's up by a lot, and you're just kind of
You're just getting the guy in there to get your guy out so he doesn't get a freak injury. Somebody on the team wants to play hero ball and hurt your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Or the when things get a little interesting though too, like the Dallas playoff game when it was like, oh boy, like when they took out Jordan Love, and then all of a sudden Dallas was like, hey, let's make a little run here and make things kind of interesting. That's like, ah, crap after that too. So, but. Yeah, I don't want to see Malik Willis play meaningful snaps.
Receiver deferred. Dak Prescott will sign a contract making him one of the top 3 paid players in the league. I don't think he'll go to the top.
I'll receive it.
And I'll tell you, Jerry Jones has got to be between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't have any alternative.
No.
And he's really got himself backed into a corner because I don't think Dak Prescott can ever take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl.
Well, and I don't know. They got Trey Lance over there, but he threw 5 picks in a preseason game. So I don't know if they were thinking okay, maybe we're ready to move on to Trey Lance. I don't know if you saw what you saw from Trey Lance, if that makes you feel comfortable about that either.
I'll tell you, it's unbelievable how much these scouts and general managers and coaches can evaluate players and how wrong they can be sometimes in unison. Trey Lance was the 3rd pick or 2nd pick or something like that.
49ers moved up to get him.
Everybody wanted Trey Lance. And it took how long before they figured out this kid's not very good? And it's just unbelievable how they can misevaluate talent when it comes to that quarterback position.
I will just say Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are incredibly lucky that Brock Purdy has been working out.
Oh, Lord, are they ever?
They may not have jobs otherwise at this point.
Unbelievable how Trey Lance, and he didn't play much football. He only played very few games at North Dakota State.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't play that many games there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what they saw in this kid. I don't know. Of course, when he played against the Packers right away and scored a touchdown easily against that screwball defense that Dom Capers used to run, I thought, oh boy, this kid might be around for a long time.
Well, and
didn't last.
To be, not to pick on the kid too, but he didn't get a whole lot of time with Kyle Shanahan as a starter over there either.
Oh,
and,
no.
and he got hurt, and you kind of wondered that more time with Kyle, would that have worked out for him potentially? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought they gave up on him very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But now he goes to Dallas, throws 5 interceptions. I don't know what kind of future this kid has.
Yeah.
Good for him. He's probably made a lot of money and he's set up for life with his contracts. But I don't know how much football he's ever going to play anymore.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. So it kind of goes back to the kicking thing, right? Teams are quick. A lot of teams are quick to move on from a quarterback if they don't show any positive stuff right away. Not everybody's patient.
Yeah,
So.
receiver defer, kickers and quarterbacks are the hardest players to evaluate in football because you look at it and, there have been other busts that, haven't made it. Can you say Tony Mandrich? But really and truly, you've got, Packers have drafted quarterbacks. Rich, what's his name from
Campbell.
Rich Campbell and different ones from years past. But it sure seems like kickers and quarterbacks are the hardest players to evaluate as far as the next level. Can they go from college to the pros? I mean, what the left-handed kid from Southern Cal that won the Heisman Trophy and
Matt
Leinart came back and played another year. And then he went to the pros. Never amounted to anything, really. I mean, the track record is long of superstars that fizzled. It really is, and and I don't say I can evaluate. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's a tough position to evaluate, and they've had some successes, but boy, they've had a lot of misses too. And these are the guys that are paid a lot of money to evaluate talent and improve your football team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Only got about a minute left here, so we'll wrap up receiver defer there. We'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up in the next hour as well. Then we got Jake Boakes coming. Jake Boakes coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Last call for any questions for our DNR Warren buddy, as we're getting closer to hunting season, but also Labor Day weekend too. So if you got anything planned for Labor Day weekend, hit us up. All right, hit us up with that quick text. So
Beautiful weather for the weekend.
Oh my goodness, isn't it? I'm going to be out in the woods and doing stuff. So
good boy.
Yeah. All right, 2 hours in. We got one more to go here. Quick break, and we'll be back after these quick words. Final hour on this Monday morning coming at you. August 29th, the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. Just a quick note, no program tomorrow. Taking the day off, so before a kiddo goes back to school and such. So no emails complaining that I'm gone this time like last time I took a day off. You laugh, but it happened.
Tell me about it.
And then I got voicemails and all that, so it's like,
I hear about it.
Don't yell at me. Okay? Taking the day off and spending it with the kiddo. So wait till you can yell at me during football season when I get something wrong. Save that energy for that for next week. So, and then of course Monday, Labor Day, we'll be back on Tuesday to really kick off the football season and such with everything back in action. So, we got Jake Bolks coming up at the bottom of the hour answering your questions. Hit me up with last call for any questions for him so we can get those on over to him. I got Labor Day weekend coming up here. Going to be, sounds like really good weather to get outside and do some outdoor stuff. So if you got any maybe fishing plans or maybe riding some of the ATVs and the trails and such, but you got a quick question, that's what Jake's here for, to help answer those questions for you. So he's coming up at 8:30 this morning. Brewers are back at it this afternoon. 1:10 first pitch. 1:10 double check. Yep, 1:10 first pitch. You can catch that on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. And again, reminder, don't forget, tomorrow's a doubleheader for the Brewers. So all day Brewers essentially tomorrow, starting at a little past 11 o'clock.
On the road or at home?
On the road in Cincinnati. So then they'll be back at home on Monday for that 3-game series starting against the Cardinals. And then the final month of the regular season on Monday begins. Just 30 games left to go.
Wow.
Believe it or not, 30 games left to go here. So
been quite a season, a surprising season to say the least. I'm sure other adjectives would fit in there as well, but it's to me it's been surprising.
Yeah. There's, speaking of the Brewers, Ken Rosenthal just tweeted out from The Athletic. He's got a new piece up there. It's about Tobias Myers. After 7 seasons in the minors, Tobias Myers has become a key part of the rotation. One quote, "It's the story of our season. Who are these guys?" And I think that's a good way to sum it up, right?
It really is a good way to sum it up. And it's just every day my frustration level increases with the national media. The Brewers are not getting any respect, any recognition. And I could go on and on and on with other terms as well. It's like the only time they will get any notoriety is if they fall on their face the last 30 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen to when they run down the scores. Brewers are always one of the last 2 or 3 scores on the scoreboard. And, it's frustrating. It really is.
Mm-hmm. This, in typical Pat Murphy fashion, I love how open and honest he is at times. So this is how the article starts off. He was number 80 in spring training, a non-roster invitee, one of the first players the Brewers cut. Pat Murphy quote, "He was not one of our top 25 pitchers." And then says, the Brewers invited 32 pitchers to spring training. They reassigned 3 to minor league camp in their first round of cuts on March 5th. They shipped out 3 more on March 10th, including Myers. Murphy quote, "I really didn't know much about him, other than I knew he had no chance to make the team."
Yeah.
He's been out. He's said similar stuff to other players. Blake Perkins, he admitted he wasn't a big fan, and look at what Blake Perkins has done this year for the team and such. So that's one of the things, many things I appreciate about Pat Murphy. He's really open and honest about his guy, and I think the players respect that.
Yeah, they have to, but it's kind of depressing when you're a player and the coach just said, "You got no chance, pal."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you fight your way onto the roster and they finally recognize you. That's a good thing. But in the beginning, when you hear those sorts of things, or you get one of the first players to get shipped out of spring training, then you get frustrated. But I give Tobias Myers credit. He hung in there. Blake Perkins, they hung in there, and they showed Pat Murphy that they are major league quality players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we can go up and down the list, and, obviously we've talked a lot about Pat Murphy and National League, manager of the year and such, but their general manager, Matt Arnold, deserves a lot of credit, doesn't he? For what he's
Absolutely.
built with this. He's a guy that you don't hear a whole lot about. really you don't hear a whole lot about baseball general managers unless
Well,
your
unless they're Chicago or
Yankees
the
or
Yankees,
Dodgers.
Cashman,
Yep, those type of players or to those type of guys and such. But I mean, you look at the trade, the Corbin Burns trade. I mean, that honestly could be a trade maybe that just worked out perfectly for both teams. And you
and
kind of
that's the ideal.
yep, exactly. And some of the other moves, a lot of frustration over the years that maybe the Brewers didn't spend enough and bring in these guys. And you look at some of these players that he's brought in. We didn't know anything really about Tobias Myers in spring training or at the beginning of the year. We didn't know what we were going to see from some of these other guys, and they've been big factors. And I think Matt Arnold deserves a lot of love and praise too with what he's done with this
And who
roster.
knows? By the end of the season, don't they have front office awards, general manager of the year, things like that? It doesn't get the attention of player of the year, or the manager of the year, or MVP type of things. But he's deserves recognition. There's no question about it. Because you take a market the size of Milwaukee, and you're 9 games ahead of Chicago, St. Louis. Those are pretty big markets.
Yeah, those are baseball towns, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you think about Cardinals and Cubs, or when you think about the division, a lot of outsiders will probably say, "Well, that's Cubs and Cardinals," but it's really been the Brewers division a lot the last few years.
Oh, it has. There's no question about it. The
Yeah.
Brewers have held up well.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what kind of gives me, I don't know if hope is the right word or excitement. I mean, you, you look at this franchise and you look at what they've done over the years and what they're continuing to do. I mean, yes, I know there's a lot of frustration with Mark Anasio and maybe budgets and all that, but the one thing that does give me comfort is that I feel like the Brewers are a franchise that is not one that goes through long bouts of like, okay, we gotta, keep it under budget and collect, there's a couple years, yeah, there's a reset year, that we've seen once in a while, but not like some of these, like a Marlins, maybe in an instance where it's
They're
like,
always in a rebuild.
right, or they're trading off all their guys.
That's what I mean.
And,
Always in
and
a
that.
rebuild.
So that's where I feel confident in with this Brewers franchise for the foreseeable future that we're always going to be talking about competing for division championships.
Well, I think you have to look at the market. Miami's a much bigger market, but Milwaukee is a much better baseball market than Miami. Let's face it, in Miami, there are a lot of things to do. And midday, they say that, you're look for rain midday in Miami all the time. So it's a different world. They're not focused on baseball. Miami is a late to the party franchise. Spring training in Miami, but not Major League Baseball in Miami. That's the way it was for years in Florida. They played, Vero Beach. That was a legendary place for the Dodgers, and that was baseball. And that's what I think people in Florida they didn't care. I don't think Florida fans, for the most part, a lot of those are transplant baseball fans from other parts of the country. But the actual Florida natives, I don't think baseball is a real high priority for them.
I'm going to use a comparison. I don't know if it's 100% accurate and all that, but projecting here a little bit. Let's say the Brewers go to the World Series this year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it would almost give me 2015 Badger basketball feels in terms of like that team, that Badger team. They were good, but they were fun to watch. They were having fun. Press conferences, Nigel Hayes giving the stenographer tough words to try to figure out, and Frank the Tank goofing around. They were a very lovable team, right? You just, and that's why it still hurts for me, and I know it does for you, that national championship game.
Biggest. I won't use the word disappointment because I don't blame the players.
Biggest heartbreak.
But yeah, that's a better word.
Even I'm a diehard Packers fan and all that, but that still is, that national championship game to me still hurts the worst.
Yep.
And I feel like if the Brewers were able to go to the World Series and somehow win it, that might vault to number one for me, above Super Bowl 45, above Super Bowl 31. This team is just so lovable. Like everything about it, from Pat Murphy to a lot of these players, it gives me 2015 Badger basketball vibes in that essence.
Yeah, you don't get the feeling of a LeBron James Miami team,
right,
where they bought that team.
Mm-hmm.
this team has worked and worked and worked, and if they would win a World Series, I agree with you. I think it would be so meaningful in so many ways.
It's kind of a blue collar type of field, right? Isn't it with these guys?
Yep.
A lot of homegrown players involved in it. Yep, Rhys Hoskins was a trade or a signee, and Contreras was a trade a couple years. But
these aren't high profile.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
It's not like you're bringing in Aaron Judge. You're bringing in Rhys Hoskins.
Right.
So you're bringing in work a day blue collar, as you said, blue collar type players, and it would have been like in '82 if they could have won that World Series. That would have been a major, major highlight. And that's still, I'm sure, a disappointment to Molitor and Yount and Cecil Cooper and the rest of them,
right,
that they didn't finish that season off. And if this team could, by hook or by crook, win a World Series, we got to get there first.
Right.
We got to get through the regular season. But if they could turn this into a magical year, it would be. It's almost like, the franchise isn't that old, but it's almost like the Cubs, like Marty Green. Marty Green can die a happy man now. Hopefully it doesn't happen soon. But Marty Green grew up in Chicago, a Cubs fan all his life. And his dad was a Cubs fan, never saw a world championship. And, that's why I think the Cubs, Craig Counsell, have kind of a free pass, so to speak. Maybe not a free pass, but a pass to get back to that level, because they finally did it in 2016, and Cubs fans are just relieved. You talked about how my grandpa, my dad, now they can die happy. I hate to, but that's what they say. I can die happy. My Cubs have won.
Well, I mean, one name involved in that too, little Euchre.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the other part in that whole thing too.
Oh, if they could win a World Series for Euchre, I'll bet he might be the guy to accept the World Series trophy. Murphy might say, Euchre, get out of the booth, get out here. It could be that it's that big a deal if they would win one with Euchre still alive. I hope it happens.
Mark's down there or whatever, yeah, you hand it off right away to Euchre. So
absolutely.
And just nobody else needs to do the post-game talk after that. Just let Euchre do it.
Let him do the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
And that would be.
Can you imagine, just that picture of Euchre hoisting a World Series trophy?
Yeah, I think he won one with the Cardinals.
He did.
Yeah, he's won one, but this is his hometown. This is where he's been for 50 years, calling games or however long. I mean, it would be so special. And
I don't think there would be a dry eye in the state or across Major League Baseball.
Anybody that's a baseball fan and truly appreciates it and aren't one of these, sour fan, anybody but the Brewers, anybody but the Packers type of thing, like Bears fans, they are so radically, Lovie Smith, when he took the job, you know what he said?
Yeah, first things, we're going to beat the Packers.
Not win a world championship, we're going to beat the Packers. And I've got relatives in Chicago, and they we don't not that bad, but they hate the Packers. They just do. And so anybody outside of maybe some of those fans, but I was happy. I was happier than a clam for the Cubs winning the World Series in 2016. I thought it was great. I have not, I think it was wonderful, but I consider myself, I got my teams. I have my teams that I root for, and just like you, but I enjoy the game. I appreciate the game in total. Houston beaten on a garbage can. They lost a lot of mojo from me. I always liked that team, but now I could care less if Houston ever wins another game. And that was by their own doing. But for a team like the Brewers to win, like the Cubs won and the fashion they won, I was rooting for them. During that World Series, I was rooting for the Cubs like a Cubs fan. But I think that's the difference between a sports fan and a radical.
Yeah. It's hard for me to imagine, but when you kind of just put that, artificial intelligence can generate an image of Euchre hoisting a world, but to actually maybe see that in reality, boy, that would be, at that point, if Euchre said, you know what, I'm retiring, I'd have no problem with that. Go out on top. I'd miss it, absolutely. But come on, that's
and make an occasional stop in the booth during the games, but and I know the announcers would appreciate that. But But yeah, I mean, we're putting the cart before the horse here, but
it's good to imagine, though.
it's never wrong to wish and hope.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's possible this year.
Absolutely.
It's 100% possible. So, but still, when you look at this, and this has been just overall, I think, a very entertaining baseball season, especially outside the Brewers. But you got these chases for playoffs. I mean, to say the Brewers are the one team that's got the widest gap from first to second in their division, the Dodgers are getting pushed by a couple teams. Baltimore and the Yankees are going back and forth every other day. It's a different leader. The AL Central now between the Twins and the Guardians and the Royals. Even Seattle's just 3.5 back. I think Houston's probably going to win that one. But, Houston's, we were asking at the beginning of the year, what's wrong with Houston? They were off to an awful start.
Yeah, they were, but they've come back. But part of that is they've come back, but Seattle faded.
Mm-hmm.
It cost Scott Service, the kid from down around La Crosse, Coon Valley, cost him his job, which is too bad. But, that's why they play 162 games.
Yep. And then even in the NL East, Philadelphia is not playing as great as they were in the first half, and Atlanta's trying to do a little catch up there. So, I mean, we're 30 games left. We're entering the final month, and there's still a lot to kind of figure out in terms of seedings and division championships and such. So overall, it's been a really good baseball season, I think.
It really has, and it's not just determining the playoffs and who's going to win, but which teams, and we talked about this earlier, which teams are really getting hot now. Houston's getting better, and we've talked about Arizona really coming on. Texas has been probably the biggest disappointment after winning the World Series last year. Probably been the biggest disappointment. I don't think they've got much hope as far as trying to make the playoffs or going very far unless they get absolutely red hot and go 25-5 or something like that. And I don't think that's going to happen. So it has been a great, and of course, following Ohtani, following Aaron Judge, that's always fun to watch those guys because it's you have to appreciate the talent that guys like that have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy standing 60 feet 6 inches away from you, throwing a baseball 95 to 100 miles an hour, and you can hit it on a regular basis. That's quite a feat.
Mm-hmm.
And to follow this, to really appreciate the nuances of the game, not just the scores or look at the numbers after the game, but follow it during the game and how it progresses. From here on out, it's going to be fun. Who's going to stand up and who's going to, kind of melt into the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we talked about some of the historic parts that are happening with this season right now with Judge and Ohtani, but you got a Paul Skeens that made his debut this year,
And I don't think he's kind of faded for the Rookie of the Year now.
I wonder what is
because the other kid, and somebody pointed out, it's kind of interesting how Skeens has performed in less than 20 games. And he's being considered for the Rookie of the Year versus Jackson, whatever his name was.
Mm-hmm. Jackson Merrill.
Yeah. Jackson Merrill is performing every day. So I think Skeens he might finish second. But if Jackson Churio keeps coming on, Skeens might go down, especially if Pittsburgh shuts him down. If Pittsburgh shuts him down, he's got no chance.
It is, so I'm looking at BetMGM. Jackson Merrill has moved into the odds-on favorite. He's a minus 165. Paul Skeens has the second best odds at a plus 120. Then there's a gap. Jackson Churio is next, but that's plus 6,000. So, but.
And I think that's disrespect for the Milwaukee franchise. Jackson Churio is putting up numbers that deserve more recognition than that.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I would agree with that. No question about it. So, all right. That we got. What else do we got going up over here? Looking at. Oh, yep. A couple texts coming up here. Don't give me high hopes about a World Series championship for the Brewers. I would be able to die a happy person in the ripe old age of the 40s after that. So.
But I think that's a fan.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true fan, and we all are fans. You realize, especially if you played the game, you realize, you think, oh, this guy, he's coming up here, bases loaded, 2 outs, going to do something. Well, there are two sides. There are other people on the other side that are saying, "Oh, our pitcher is going to strike him out," and we say our guy's going to get a hit and win the game. It's a competitive game, very competitive, obviously at that level. So you just hope that your player is tough enough to win that battle.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys that are in the Hall of Fame
Right.
that won more battles than they lost.
Yep. All right. Let's take a quick break, shall we? And we'll get to some outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes. So thank you to everybody who sent over questions. If you got any more, you'll have to hold on to them till next time. But quick break. We got outdoor tidbits coming up after these quick words.
888-467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
The only thing more satisfying than a crisp fall day is a crisp fall day inside your cozy, spotless home. Right now, shop Labor Day savings on select cleaning essentials and exclusive brands from the Home Depot. Plus, with fast free delivery, you don't have to worry about running out of your favorite cleaners, paper products, trash bags, and more. The Home Depot has everything you need to get ready for a fall refresh. Get your home crisp, clean, and ready for the season with the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free delivery on over 2 million items subject to availability.
Attention weekend warriors. Are you hitting the ball fields or staying active in the outdoors? Well, you can be our next featured weekend warrior. Visit sportstalk1051.com for more details. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your outdoor tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us and we'll ask for you.
It is time for our outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes here this morning. Jake, how you doing there, big guy?
I am doing good. It's like I say every week, it's another good Thursday morning, a little bit cloudier, but it's a good week. It's a good day.
Absolutely, man. So I know we had a couple really hot days the other day, but now temperatures starting to cool down here a little bit and such. And it sounds like it's going to be a absolutely gorgeous Labor Day weekend. Is it pretty, Labor Day week? I know a lot of people have off on Monday, but is it one of your busiest weekends as a conservation warden for Labor Day weekend?
Well, it's definitely busy. I wouldn't put it in like the top 3 by any means, but in the top 10 for sure. Any of these summer holidays, they're busy, but I think this one gets a little bit busier than maybe like Memorial Day weekend, because we have like the early waterfall season starting on Sunday. So that's going to start a whole new time period. I mean, kind of like the official start of fall, with all of our teal hunters going out, early goose hunters, dove hunters, stuff like that. So not only are the ATV trails still being ripped up and ridden on and the boats flying around, but then now we got hunters out and about too, as well as the fall fishermen and such. So busy for us, busy for everyone. But the good thing is this is a time of year where there's opportunity aplenty if you want to get outside.
So give us a little bit of a preview. You mentioned, teal season and the early waterfall season. Maybe just kind of some reminders for everybody who may be partaking in that.
Yeah. So, this early waterfall season, early teal season kind of started, I think, 4 or 5 years ago now. They were supposed to, I think they did it with like a 3-year test pilot, and everyone kind of liked it, so it continued going. But the important thing is, like, it's called early teal season, not early duck season. So you can get out there starting Sunday and hunt teal, blue wing, green wing. I don't think you're going to see any cinnamon teal, but teal only. It's not open to mallards. It's not open to wood ducks, which are the 2 ducks we see most people shoot either intentionally or accidentally during this time period. So teal season's open. There's an early goose season. And then there's some other waterfall like rail, snipe, and dove, like I mentioned, that you can get out and go and shoot. Those are a little less common. But for sure, the goose and teal hunters will be out in force on Sunday.
Also, with this weekend too, do you see a lot of trail action? ATVs, UTVs, and such.
Yeah. So I noticed it last night. I saw some big trailers full of ATVs and RVs and stuff heading what I assume was probably the Black River area, or a couple of them look like they're going up north. So still plenty of ATVs, UTVs. It looks like it's going to be a really good weekend. Not too hot. I think it's going to rain tonight, but I don't foresee any rain over the weekend. So it should be a pretty good weekend with it being, hotter on Saturday, but then with the duck season starting, or teal season starting Sunday, it's only supposed to be like 70 or so. So it should be like the right temperatures out there.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jake, I know this doesn't start until the 7th and that too, but maybe just a reminder, because we've got for sturgeon, right? Sturgeon tag or sturgeon license coming up starting September 7th.
Yeah, sturgeon stuff. One thing I want to mention before I jump into sturgeon, when it comes to the teal season, I just thought about this, is that the early teal season is the shooting hours are sunrise to sunset, and that's to help hunters identify teal versus other ducks. So when people go in the regulations, when you go into the waterfall section of the regs, there's its own column of shooting hours for teal. So when you're out teal hunting, you got to make sure that you're going sunrise to sunset, not 20 hours or 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after, the way that the rest of the rigs, the rest of the season is set up for. It's got its own shooting hours. So if you're going teal season, open the regulations and find those shooting hours. But sturgeon September 7th, it opens up. It's an open fishing season. So as long as you buy a fishing license, you can legally go and target sturgeon. The rest of the year on the Chippewa River and stuff like that, you're not supposed to be down there targeting sturgeon. But from September 7th through the rest of the month, you can actually go down there, openly target sturgeon, catch and release fish them. There is a harvest season, or you can harvest one. It has to be 60 inches over here on the Chippewa River. So one sturgeon, 60 inches, and before you go fishing, if your goal is to harvest and keep a 60-inch sturgeon, you have to have a printed off hard copy sturgeon harvest tag. So kind of like, obviously it's not going to be like those green tags that we used to have, but for those few years when you had to have a deer tag with you or deer harvest authorization, you have to go into Fleet Farm, you got to go to the DNR Center, you got to go to your printer at home and print off a piece of paper that has your sturgeon tag on it, because you have to validate that immediately if you decide to keep a 60-inch sturgeon.
Yeah, turn you up there, Bob.
How much will a 60-inch sturgeon weigh? I would think you better have somebody else in the boat with you to drag, because they're kind of like dead weight.
Yeah, well, it's a big fish. I don't mean to undersize them here when I explain it, but so over here, it seems like it's more of like a 1 inch to 1 pound ratio. You know, obviously every fish is different, but a 60-inch fish seems to be more like 60 to 80 pounds around here.
Yeah, that's not easy to get in.
Oh gosh, no. I seized a 64-incher a few years ago, and I just tried to pick it up, and me picking it up alone was an effort in itself. And I wasn't in a boat or on the shoreline or anything like that. But over on the Winnebago system, they obviously get a lot bigger and fatter because they're not fighting the current like they are on the river, and their food source over there is a lot. You know, the redworms and different stuff, shad over there, there's a ton more prey for them to eat. So they grow a lot bigger and fatter over there. But there's tons of 60-inchers in the river down here. If you want one, you can probably get one.
How do you fish them? I mean, just throw an old worm on the bottom of the river, or hope they take it. How do you fish a sturgeon?
Nah, you hit it right on the head there. It's your basic catfish style. Throw something on the bottom, and they'll suck it up, and you got yourself a sturgeon. It's the reason so many people unintentionally catch them when they're fishing for catfish, or they're fishing for even bass or this or that. If you have something going along the bottom or sitting on the bottom, you're likely to get a sturgeon, because they just kind of go around and suck up whatever they deem edible.
Hey, Jake, speaking of sturgeon, and I don't know if it would affect this area much, but some are tagged, right? So if anybody has a tagged one, is there different protocols for that?
For the most part, what the DNR or what the fishery staff wants you to do is to document the length and girth of it, and then obviously like where you caught it, what day it was, stuff like that. On those tags, so if you look at those sturgeon, on those tags, there should be like an email address or a phone number, and that's where you would report the information to. So you don't need to like take the fish or take the tag off the fish or anything like that. Just find out what it says on there. Depending on the year it was tagged, the description of what they want you to do is a little bit different. But call the phone number, email the email address with the details of it, and then that really helps with them tracking, where the fish is, how big is it growing, is it getting fatter, is it healthy or not healthy, stuff like that.
Did you have any more there, Bob?
Yeah, sturgeon to me is an anomaly of a fish. What do you do with it if you do catch it? They're not all that good to eat, are they? It's not like a panfish.
Caviar, isn't it? Caviar with the eggs.
But that's not a 60-pound sturgeon, and the eggs are one thing.
Yeah, to get caviar and such, I mean, you have to have like the perfect fish and the perfect female and the perfect reproduction year, and the eggs got to be. Your local fisherman isn't going to be able to get caviar because you have to process it then, and it's a long. But I would never worry about caviar when it comes to sturgeon. What a lot of people like to do when it comes to sturgeon is they'll turn them into like sturgeon steaks, and then they'll brine them and either smoke them, or just cook them regularly or deep fry them. I've had it deep fried, and it's hard to not like anything that's deep fried. You can deep fry a shoe and it's probably good. But I did have I had a buddy who we went out camping this summer, and his buddy kept one from the Winnebago chain, and speared it, I should say, legally. And they smoked it. They cut into smaller fillets and smoked it. And honest to God, it tasted just like smoked salmon the way they did it. It was delicious.
Oh,
it was some of the best smoked fish I've had. So I think it really depends on how good your brining skills, your brining recipe, your smoking recipe, and your skills. I think how you cook it is what determines if you like it or you don't.
I wonder how many years they had to leave it in the smokehouse to make it taste like that. Oh, that's a nasty looking fish.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And I was talking with someone yesterday about it. A lot of people love catching them and releasing them even if they're over 60 because, like you said, what do you do with it? It's such a unique fish and this, but it's not like they don't generally taste that good.
How old will a 60-inch sturgeon be?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know, and I don't want to assume because I could assume way wrong. But I know it's going to be an old fish.
Yeah.
Maybe next week when I jump on, I'll talk to the fishery staff, and I'll get a few more little biological data questions for you on that. But you can't really mount them. There are some taxidermists that mount them, but they're going to be thousands and thousands of dollars to do a sturgeon, and so. Yeah, a lot of people just really enjoy the sport and the fight of catching and releasing it.
Really quick to wrap it up, this was because I was looking up some stuff on sturgeon. Back in April, there was a story about a sturgeon that traveled 651 miles down the Mississippi River system that was originally tagged in Jim Falls area.
Right.
And they said the fish was tagged at least a decade ago and perhaps as long as 25 years ago based on the color of the tag. And they said, I was reading some quotes here, considering this fish was likely too large to fit through the trash racks and on the dams on the Chippewa River, it would have to have had to have passed through the spillway gates of the dams during high water events. So
yeah, if it got if it got tagged way up there and made it through Eau Claire and stuff, once they go. The thing about the Eau Claire Dam is that fish can come down it, like you said, in spillways and high water events, but fish can't go back up it.
mm-hmm.
So that fish could never get back up to Jim Falls. But obviously getting that far down or coming up, those fish can go, a lot of these fish species go a lot further than we all would even think.
Mm-hmm.
And the last quick little thing on sturgeon is that if you do plan on registering if you do plan on trying to keep one, you really, really, really need to know what you're going to do with that fish when you catch it. So not only do you have to have a hard copy tag with you when you're fishing so you can validate it, you have to register it within a day, but you also have to, online, but you also have to register it with, I guess it's kind of, you do it at the same time, but you register it with DNR staff or at a local hardware store. Because all the holidays closed in town, which used to be our kind of conduits to a tagging system, the only place to register your sturgeon legally, in person, like we used to do with deer, is you can only do it up at the Ace in Chippewa Falls or the DNR Service Center in Eau Claire, but that's only open from 8:30 to 3:30 or 8:30 to 4. So if you catch a fish at 2 in the morning, you can't cut it up before you can't process it before you get it registered. So you really have to think about what you're going to do with a fish. So if you are going to, go fishing at night, I'd encourage you to call the fisheries biologist and get an idea of what you should do with it.
Good note there too. Hey, really quick to answer your aging question, there was a quote in this article too. Says aging, slow-growing old fish is difficult, but our best estimate is that this 56.9-inch male is likely around 30 years old. So I know it's not quite 60, but gives you a little bit of a
close enough.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
You're an old fish.
yeah,
As old as I am.
right. He's Jake Boakes, conservation warden for the great state of Wisconsin. Dude, always appreciate the time. Thank you for answering our questions. Be safe if you got to work this weekend, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds great, guys. Talk to you next week.
You got it. There you go. Jake Boakes joining us again for our outdoor tidbits. I know a couple of you sent over questions during the segment. We'll have to save those for next time we talk to them because we want our questions ahead of time over there too. So, but
and one of these days I learned to fish, but with my luck, my first cast, I'd grab a hold of a cat or one of those big sturgeons, and then what do I do with it? But I just can't imagine dragging that sucker in a boat.
We had one of our good listeners, Josh, said what he's heard. You're talking about taste, texture of pork chop, flavor of lobster. So he
I'll
said
take
that's
your word for it.
He said,
I'll do the real thing.
He said that we're going to get one this year and we could try it on the air. So there we go.
All right, you get it smoked and treat it process it a lot before you bring it in here, Josh.
We'll make sure that we have some dandelion wine on side for there too.
I'd try it if somebody wants to bring some in, jerky or whatever the case may be.
All right,
I'd give it a try.
All right, there we go. Okay, let's take a quick break. We've got some picks and predicts, baseball and college football games to be picking. We'll hit that up coming up after these quick words. All right, it is time to do some picks and predicts to wrap up things here this morning. We're going to do some baseball games and college football. We got quite the slate of college football games coming at you here today. Let's actually start off with some college football games here. Change it up a little bit because we've been doing a lot of baseball ones. Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire, located right next to Banbury Place. Looking for somewhere to catch some of these games, look no further than the Elbow Room. And speaking of catch some games, if you don't have a particular streaming service to watch Green Bay's game next Friday, you can head on over to the Elbow Room to watch that game and have some drink specials going on over there too. So let's start off with just kind of looking at, I'm not going to pick every college football game out there, but let's go North Carolina at Minnesota. North Carolina is actually favored by 2 in this game. Turn your mic on there, big boy. See, that one wasn't my fault.
Well, that can have new guys in the business. That's why I'm still the intern. You got to learn all that stuff first. I'm going to take Minnesota. I think Minnesota's tough at home, and I think they'll do a number. That's tonight.
That is tonight. That's going to be on
Good game
Fox.
to watch. You're watching it.
North Dakota State versus primetime Colorado. That's going to be on ESPN tonight. Colorado, 9.5-point favorites. I think we're probably both picking Colorado. So do you think they cover that?
Yeah, I do, because Deion's son and that wide receiver they got.
Hunter?
Yeah. I think they will.
Do you think Colorado, because there's a lot of talk about what they're going to do this year, how many wins they're going to have. You know, they've got Kansas State. They got Nebraska coming up on the 7th. That's at Nebraska. Baylor's on there too. But right now, of the current ranked opponents they play, Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. But their first ranked opponent currently right now, they don't play until October 12th. Do you think they'll finish with at least 6 wins in the Big 12 this year?
Well, I think they will, because those ranked opponents, let's face it, they're not in the top 5 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
They're all down in the bottom of the rank. They're still ranked, which is good. But, yeah, I think they will.
If they don't, and Deion's top 2 guys, including his son, could he be out already after 2 years in Colorado? I'm curious to see him do it without his kid and Travis Hunter.
I think he's going to be under pressure. He's brought a lot of notoriety to that program and to the University of Colorado. But is it the kind of notoriety they want?
All right.
When he first came in there, he got rid of everybody that was on the roster, just about. And now everything is in the trade, or in the transfer portal and NIL. I don't know what kind of a tradition you can build with that kind of a philosophy. And I don't know if that's what Colorado officials really want. I think they got more than they bargained for, the notoriety wise, when they brought in Deion. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on him.
We'll do just one more. I'm trying to find games that are at least sort of competitive based off the lines, but there's not a lot. But this is a Big Ten. We got a Big Ten team involved in this. Eastern Illinois at Illinois. Illinois is favored by 28. Do they cover?
No.
I'm going to say no, too.
28's a big number. I mean, if the other team scores 10 points, you got a lot of points you got to make. And I don't know. I don't think Illinois rather has a juggernaut for an offense.
Yeah.
Not under Brett Bielema, who's a defensive coach.
Let's move to baseball. Let's start off with Padres.
Before you do that, I don't even know. What's the spread on the Badger game?
Let me go
Badgers
back
in Western Michigan,
here.
I do believe it.
Yep.
I think kickoff's 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yep, 8 o'clock, 23.5 for Wisconsin.
Okay. And I think I don't know. My initial response is I think Wisconsin's going to win, but can they cover 23.5? I don't know. I don't know how good their defense is going to be. Last year, the linebackers were horrible, and they lost their best defensive end for the year now to some kind of surgery. So I don't know how good the Badgers are going to be. I think 23.5 is a big hill to climb.
Let's do, where did I got to go back? Padres Cardinals.
Where are they at?
At St. Louis. St. Louis won last night 4-3.
Yeah, I think the Padres will come back. I think the Padres have got something to play for too. I think they've got more to play for than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Cardinals, you never say never, but amongst each other, are they saying, we got to get next year? I'm taking the Padres.
I will go with the Padres as well. How about Mets and Diamondbacks? Diamondbacks won last night 8-5.
I think the Diamondbacks will win again. They're hot, and I don't know who's going to stop them, really.
I'll go Diamondbacks too. How about Atlanta at Philadelphia?
At Philadelphia, I'll take the Phillies.
I'm going to go Atlanta for this one. They're coming off that sweep against the Twinnies this past weekend. They're playing good baseball too. I'm going to go Atlanta picking up the first win. Let's go Kansas City at Houston.
I'm picking Kansas City just because, like I talked earlier, I don't like Houston anymore, and I am hoping somebody knocks them out of the playoffs.
I'm going to go Kansas City as well. Baltimore at the Dodgers. Last night, Dodgers won 6-4.
And I'll take the Dodgers again.
I'm going to go Dodgers too. I think they won because Ohtani's dog threw out the first pitch last night. So,
Can you imagine that?
Then we've got finally the Giants and Brewers day game 110 first pitch.
Brewers
going to win.
You bet.
I'm going to go with the Brewers too. They win the series before heading off to Cincinnati for a few games. 2 of them tomorrow again. Reminder, don't forget. So that's your picks and predicts. We only got about 30 seconds left. So again, reminder, no program tomorrow, no program on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday, recapping hopefully a lot of Brewers wins and hopefully a big win for Badgers in terms of like point spread.
Well, I'd like to see them cover at
Yeah.
23.5. It would be fun, but I think the news of the day at Camp Randall is going to be how riotous was it with all the beer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why they quit selling alcohol or letting alcohol in there, because man, they were passing students up over the top of the stadium, and it got to be a problem. And so I was surprised they put it back in, but it's money in the treasury.
Yep.
And that conquers all in many cases.
Man, we've got a week from today. The NFL season officially kicks off. Ravens and Chiefs. So
have a happy Labor Day weekend. Do it safely, and we'll be back next week.
Absolutely. DP, Danettes, they're up next. Have a good rest of your day. Talk to you again soon.